Good morning, everyone. This morning, the devotional is titled Hearing God in the Silence. And it's the story from 1 Kings chapter 18, chapter 19. It's a story of Elijah. And in this story, and you might remember it because we did a musical on this back in 2016. In this story, Elijah defeats the powers or the prophets of Baal, and God brings down from the sky fire that destroys this area that had been soaked with water. So it's really a dramatic demonstration of God's power and sovereignty. And after this, Elijah's in a ton of trouble with some of the authorities, and they want to take his life. So he flees for his life, and he gets out of there, and he ends up hiding in a cave. And so he's just done this really brave thing, and God has worked through him, and now here he is hiding, and he's feeling alone and neglected, and he's feeling sorry for himself. You might even say some self-pity. This is what it says, 1 Kings chapter 19 from verse 11. Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. So Elijah is looking for something. He's asking for something for God, and he has this message to go do this. So now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. A sound of sheer silence. That must have been amazing. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" So Elijah hears God in that whisper. When we need direction, when we feel defeated or we feel alone, we often look for something magnificent or spectacular or something that's going to actually, as they say, smack us in the middle of the forehead. And here's God speaking to his prophet in the sound of silence, in a whisper. Listening is so important. You know, I can remember my dad. My dad was a pastor, and I remember my dad preaching about Elijah when I was a kid in church. And I'm often reminded of this idea of listening for God in quietness. I'm reminded of it when I'm bugged about something, when I get really impatient. When I want to see something dramatic or I want an immediate answer, I need something right now from God, I'm reminded to just listen. And part of that listening for me is opening the Bible and reading it and paying attention. That's listening to God's word speak. When things aren't going right for us, we often want to think, okay, what can we change? Or what can we do differently? Or what can I do or others do to change my circumstance? It's not a natural thing for us to stop and maybe sit down and be still and to listen. Mother Teresa said, listen in silence, because if your heart is full of other things, you cannot hear the voice of God. Let me leave you with this very short verse from Psalm 46, verse 10, and it's familiar to all of you. Be still and know that I am God. My prayer for you, and I pray for you guys all the time, is that you will be able to do that. Be still. And in that stillness, you'll be able to see and hear and listen. You'll be able to understand God moving in you, in your life, in your place, in your space where you are today. Take care, everyone.